Hello beautiful people, my name is Michaela Curtis and today we're going to be talking about how to graduate debt-free without help from parents. During my senior year of high school, I didn't really think about going to college until around that September or October before graduating, and this mainly came because I knew that if I wanted to go to college, it had to be on my own dime. Tip number one is to fill out your FAFSA. Now, whether you're going to your undergraduate degree or even your graduate degree, you want to make sure that you fill out the FAFSA because this is a free application for federal student aid. They're going to figure out how much money they're going to give you every single year. Now, that's the other important part, is that you have to fill out the FAFSA every year. Just because you get it one year does not mean it layovers to the next. So be sure that you're diligent in filling it out, and there's different benefits for people in graduate school, and I'm going to have a bunch of links down in the description for different things related to FAFSA. So just check out some of the resources linked below. Now, tip number two is to find some external scholarships. So external scholarships can come from a foundation or grants, but for me, a good place that I looked was at our local community foundation. So the foundation gets donations sometimes from federal money or state money, but usually from private donors, and they tell the foundation, okay, I'm donating this money and these are the criteria for the people I want to get this money. Like, they have to be from a certain county or they have to be a certain demographic, and then from there the foundation is basically going to take your application and put it towards all of the scholarships to see if it applies towards any of them, and if it does, then it's going to look at the strength of your application and the essays that you wrote, and from there see if you are the strongest applicant for that scholarship. And if you have more questions about foundations, I know there's a lot of good videos on YouTube. You can also reach out to me. The whole point of the foundation, especially a community foundation, is to give back to the individuals from that community so that hopefully one day those individuals that they invested in will be able to reinvest back into the community later on in life, when they have the resources and motivation to do so. And another good place to look for external scholarships or funding would be through your institution. And these scholarships would come from private donors that specifically graduated from the college that you're going to attend. So they're most likely wanting to reinvest into those that are getting educated through the university they graduated from. And the last place that you could look for external scholarships would even be with organizations or foundations nationwide or worldwide. So you have things like Pepsi and Nike, and you see people getting sponsored, but some people actually just get scholarships or grants from them. Try and exhaust all of your resources and look into everything that you can. So it's really important when you're filling out these applications and these essays that you think about how you want to be portrayed by these people. So if you're needing some help filling out these essays, you can look at my previous video, I'll link it below, my 101 essays video, which basically was for graduate school applications, but it can certainly be used in this context as well. A third place that you can look for scholarships would be from your high school or home community. Now, these scholarships are usually given at the end of your senior year, and it's for individuals who have done significant participation in activities or academics throughout their time at that high school. So no matter how small it is, definitely look into scholarships that you may have at your high school and see if they require you to apply for them or if they're just given to individuals that are involved with such activities. Place number 4 that you can look would be for institutional scholarships. All of these are funding that you would get directly from the college or university that you're going to attend. So a lot of universities will give out scholarships for things like sports, academics, and other extracurricular activities like band or vocal. On top of that, usually they'll be able to stack these scholarships. So if you have one from your department, sometimes you'll also still be able to get like a presidential scholarship or a merit scholarship, which is a scholarship based on your GPA and ACT or SAT score. So again, you just want to be sure that you exhaust all of your resources and talk to your admissions counselor before going to this university and say, hey, are there any other scholarships that I may be able to get? And if you have a unique situation like you won't be able to have help from parents paying for college, then point that out to them, and usually they're a little bit more willing to help. Now, tip number 5 for funding is to negotiate institutional scholarships. If you're accepted to a lot of universities, you can get your financial aid report from all of them, and then Compare the prices, and then if there's one that you're really leaning towards but it's still a little bit more expensive, you can always use that as a negotiation point. Number 6 is to talk to your local church or religious chapter if you are a religious individual, and see if they give any scholarships to active members of that congregation. Tip number 7, simply ask your parents if they could help out. You know, if you come from a place where your parents are able to financially help you, you should certainly ask for it. And if that doesn't work, you can always go to tip number 8, which is to ask your parents for a loan. Now, some parents are going to be more willing to hand out their money if they think, hey, this would be able to teach my teenager how to deal with money without going into debt and accumulating the interest that you would if you did a formal loan through a bank. Number 9 is that you could use your skill or hobby to bring an income. Now, this isn't necessarily work, it's something more like you have a special skill to make something, or you're good at flipping houses or shoes, things like that, so that as you're going through your college, you can find maybe an old pair of Jordans and make them look brand new and then sell them for a profit. And number 10 is to just work for the money. Is this such a radical idea? I think not. And if you don't have to, please don't. It's very hard. So you can either work during college to make up this money and just have part-time jobs on the side of being a student, or you can take a gap year or 2 and then earn the money and save it up for when you go to school. That way you don't get into debt, and then also afterwards you're not worrying about the interest that's going to start accumulating once you graduate. Up on the screen, you will now see a typical weekly schedule for me. This is specifically from fall 2017, but this is about what all of my semesters looked like, give or take. So for my undergrad, it was very hard because I was simultaneously keeping up with 4 to 5 part-time jobs at the same time as being a full-time student and being involved with clubs, organizations, volunteering, shadowing, and other things on and off campus. I know that this looks overwhelming, but I was able to do this for 3 years. I graduated in 3 years with my Bachelor of Science with a major in biology, and I graduated with honors. So it is possible for you to do this and still graduate with good grades and being very involved, and you still find a way to make the money and pay for your college as you're going through your degree. Long story short, just make sure that you're being involved both with your school and you don't forget about your schoolwork if you are going to work part-time jobs, because it's really easy to just say, hey, I want to make more money and it's okay if I take a B or a C or a D in this class. Like, no, the whole reason that you're at college is to do well in the degree. So if you are going to work part-time jobs, just be sure that you're remembering why you got the job in the first place. Tip number 11 on where to find funding for your educational pursuits would just be to try and get a full ride scholarship. I know that sounds absolutely insane, but I also know that it happens. So it's definitely important for you to look into those options. So 1, for your undergrad, to see if you can get a full ride scholarship either from an activity, a sport, a department, or even from your academics. But then if you're going to graduate school and you're looking for those full ride scholarships, sometimes it's good to look at schools and their individual programs to begin with. Also keep in mind that it varies from school to school and program to program, so you really need to do your research before you start applying if that's your main goal. Lastly, tip number 12 is to get your education paid for by an external source. Now, this can be through the military or a private hospital or affiliation. Some states will even pay if you're willing to put in the work after getting that degree for 4 to 8 years, staying in that state or a region that the state needs you to be in as a professional. I really hope this helps you find ways to fund your education and minimize the financial burden that can come with a formal education. Please feel free to leave comments or questions if you have any questions unique to my situation. Otherwise, there's so many resources online that I encourage you to look into. Stay tuned for more advice. I wish you all the best on your future endeavors, and as always, thanks for watching.